Ideas Original Sports. My name is Kenyatta. I'm here with Theo and Reem. How y'all doing this week?
Doing good.
All good, bros. No complaints.
So this weekend, and I can't even say the weekend anymore. This Sunday is the All-Star Sunday, and listen, we got it already set up going to Atlanta or something. But it's supposed to be no fans and all that type of stuff. But from all reports I'm hearing, Atlanta's the party site right now. Now, I mean, do you think there should have been an All-Star game with the whole pandemic thing and with all the things that survived around the All-Star game? Because I can tell you years ago when the All-Star game was in New York, I didn't go to the game, but there was a lot of festivities going around the game. So what do you guys think of, All-Star game in Atlanta, whether we should have had it and all the stuff going on?
See, like on my end, I'm a little conflicted because I know LeBron made those comments. It almost seemed like he was implying that they were told it wouldn't be a game, like maybe they would get some type of rest or something. But then I heard, and not sure if it's true, but I heard CP3 was the one that was on the players' side, kind of like advocating for a game. But we know that the league is a business, so of course the league is going to push to have the game. So I'm not surprised there that they're having a game. I'm not sure Atlanta is the best site due to what you just mentioned in terms of being like a party city. In general, pandemic, it never really seemed to close down over there in Atlanta. So I think they probably should have picked the town. I mean, find a gym in Wyoming somewhere. That way guys just go there, they hoop, and they go home. All the additional extra stuff, the party, and even if it's not the players per se that's involved in that stuff, it's still risky for the fans and stuff like that to be out in these all-star game parties and stuff. So just pick an area where hardly anybody's there, secluded, and they just go, they play, do what they have to do, and go home. I'm not surprised there is a game. I think there probably should have been a game. But I think they could have chose a different location.
I'm for LeBron, man. For not playing. These guys had 70 days gap in between last season and this season. There's a lot in your body run up and down for 2 or 3 hours, man. It was better off, in my opinion, just announcing the starting five, announcing the All Stars for the year. They just got to be with their family, man, for a week or two, or for a week, I should say. And that's about it, man. But we're gonna play somewhere in Utah where nothing to do. Playing Cleveland.
Yeah, I think you.
Maybe even San Antonio. Places where players hate to go.
You laugh. I think you're right.
Yeah,
you might have touched on a nerve though. Theo, you might have touched on a nerve though, man.
Yeah, I know.
You just said why don't they play the game in Utah?
Yeah, I know.
So this week we heard a lot about the Utah Jazz players and how they got picked. I mean, I gotta say, I don't really have a problem with them being picked last. I mean, Rudy Gobert. I mean, okay, they needed a big man to make it in the All-Star games. Kind of, don't get me wrong, he's got good numbers and everything, but I don't know how much, guys. I mean, it's nice for the league to put somebody on there as a defender and stuff like that. Donovan Mitchell's having a pretty good year, but if you were drafting, because the whole big stink was that both the Utah players were drafted last, and then LeBron made some statements about well, it's Utah, and if listen, you wouldn't even pick them on the video game. That was his comment. I mean, do you guys have a problem with the Utah Jazz players getting picked last?
I personally don't. I'm looking at the selections now, and I can't see who either one of them would have been picked ahead of. And that's not to say they're individually not having a great year, and as a team, right? First half of the season, best team in the league probably. But I don't know who I would have selected Gobert or Mitchell ahead of, so I don't have any problems there. Another interesting point, as we discussed it in our last episode, is Mike Conley, right? saying, we don't even know if he should have been a selection if somebody would have got hurt. And here it is, Devin Booker is out and Conley's the selection. So that's another Utah Jazz player in there. But yeah, I don't have any issues with them going last in the draft.
I'm a gamer. I played all the NBA Live back in the days, the NBA showdowns.
Yeah.
And I've never used Utah. And my peoples who played with me never used Utah. So, I mean, it is what it is, man. But I respect Carmelo and John Stockton. That being said, as far as the order of the draft, I mean, what players are you going to pick after Donovan Mitchell? I mean, like, Luka, I'll pick over him. I mean, on either side of the team. What guard are you gonna pick after Donovan Mitchell? I don't see it.
I don't see it either. I mean, I think one of the things they got to realize is that for one thing, it's always been historically good for the team that wins, because always around the All-Star game, the team that wins, they get the benefit of the doubt. You might contribute some of that winning to extra players. Like, I don't know why Mike Conley. I wouldn't have been upset if his name wasn't on the ballot.
Right.
I mean, what did Mike Conley do to deserve to replace anybody? I mean, for one thing, if C.J. McCollum wasn't hurt, I don't even know why Mike Conley would even be considered. I mean, you even looking at he hasn't had the greatest season, but I'm sure statistically, if we look at it, Jamal Murray probably still had a better season than Conley. John Morant. I mean, there's a whole host of people that we could have took instead of Mike Conley.
Trae Young, right? Trae Young.
Yeah. So if you look at it as far as that whole, that is true. I mean, why is it that now? Yeah, here's another question for you guys. Why is it that we still feel compelled to choose the same amount of players from each league when you're doing a draft? If you're doing a draft and they can play for either side, why do we got to choose the same amount of players from the East and the West?
Yeah, that's a good point. It doesn't seem like it has to be, right? So why not a Trae Young, if anything, from the East playing over there? Because like you said, it's no longer East versus West for the time being.
Yeah, I think Sabonis is on LeBron's team. He was a late pick on LeBron's team.
Yep.
So
it's match.
This couldn't have East versus West. Keep it, Team Kareem against Team Kenyatta, like that, man.
Yeah.
Regardless of the side of conference.
Yeah, because Kawhi Leonard is on Durant's team.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So was Booker.
Right.
Yeah, so it's mixed all over the place,
Yeah. As a matter of fact, if he wasn't hurt, Anthony Davis would be on Durant's team if he wasn't hurt.
Yeah, Zion is too, as well as Donovan Mitchell, right? They're playing on quote unquote the East team and KD's team.
Mm-hmm.
So when they put another player on, they probably shouldn't have well, they'll say they didn't have to, but I mean, I still got to say it. The league has got to be involved. I still can't believe if I looked at the coaches and looked at the players that they decided that the next best guy to put on a team was Mike Conley.
I don't like that either.
I mean, that's our next interview. We need to find an NBA player that say they voted for Mike Conley to go to the All-Star game. Besides Mike Conley or a Utah Jazz player,
Yeah.
You're like, listen, you vote for Mike Conley? Yeah.
And it's not that he's bad. It's just that his numbers compared to a bunch of other guys aren't up there. And I get the whole benefit of the doubt for being on a winning team. But I don't know if that takes you from having, average numbers all the way up to making the team. I don't think he
played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta, I don't understand it. I think we all at a loss for words on this Mike Conley thing. I don't get it. I don't get where Mike Conley will be somebody that you would put. I don't know. And this not even the best. This not even the best Mike Conley's been. We see Mike Conley much better on the Grizzlies.
Right.
Yeah. Now, do you like this format better than the East versus West? The random.
You know what's funny about it? I like the fact that it kind of puts like these star players on like on notice because when you watch Durant and LeBron pick, they pick the way we would pick. So it's not like they're out there just picking only their homeboys. Like dudes is really considering those picks because they had something where I think Durant and LeBron both wanted to pick the same guy or something like that. So they actually picked the picks. I mean, some of the guys obviously they picked because that's people they cool with. But for the most part, it seems like they pick really about who they think is the best players. So that part I like, and it kind of tells you like what the players think of each other too.
Right.
It's funny that you mention that because I'm looking at KD's first pick and it was Kyrie, and I'm not against him being that first pick by KD per se, but I wonder how much of Kyrie's psyche factored into that. Like if he didn't pick him first, right? Because after the second pick was Joel Embiid, and I could easily see Embiid, let's say, being that first pick. So I wonder how much of that is I don't want to, cause some friction. Kyrie go into one of his things again, or if he legitimately felt he should have been that first pick for his team.
Go ahead, Theo. I got one for this one. Go ahead, Theo. Though you got it too.
LeBron was not taking Kyrie under any circumstances. I don't care. He was not taking Kyrie. Why would KD take him number one, number two? Made no sense, man. You should know that. Like, listen, Brian ain't taking you, bro. Someone pick you forward, okay? Brian not taking you, man. Okay, you got beef. He don't want you.
I gotta tell you, I think the whole thing with that was strategic. For one thing, we all know if you were gonna choose between James Harden and Kyrie Irving, which one would you have picked first?
I would have picked Harden, and
Yeah,
he
but
ended up picking Harden, but it was number 6.
yeah, because him and James is real cool, so they probably in the background like, yeah, don't worry, I'm gonna pick you up or something. James Harden doesn't care either way. Whereas Kyrie, if he didn't get picked by Durant, like you said, his psyche would be ruined.
Yeah,
And then you got to remember, Joel Embiid is like that too. You don't want to kind of you don't want to give nobody no fuel for the fire or something. That's somebody they might have to face in the Eastern Conference Finals. He's real childish and stuff like that too. Look, you picked me 6. Look what the 6 guy could. All types of foolishness or something. So you pick him second because it makes sense for Embiid. Like, oh yeah, he picked his teammate and then he picked me. I'm the best type of nonsense. Whatever. So you got the 2 biggest babies out of the way right off the top. So that made sense.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah, I think for Harden, either way, Harden seems like the type of guy that he don't care who would have picked him. Yeah, it don't make a difference either way.
I agree.
And as long as the clubs are open in Atlanta, Harden could care less.
Oh yeah, he's good.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, James Harden, the clubs are open. He want to know who's dancing tonight.
She just hang up to somebody's club.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys heard it in one of the. I don't know if you guys heard it in one of the Nets games. You know that the person interviewed him, asked him how was the strip clubs in Brooklyn versus the strip clubs in Houston. This is somebody interviewing him. And he said something to the effect that they're good to me. They all treat me nice.
I could believe it.
Yeah, I believe it.
So you can clearly tell where he's at.
Yeah. Treat everybody well. No beef on no sides, man. Houston or New York. No.
So for you guys, when you look at the people that got picked and where they got picked, any surprise picks on either side that you think that I'm surprised this guy took this guy?
From looking at it, it looks pretty good. I think they did a pretty good job drafting. I know there was that whole Utah Jazz thing that we discussed, but outside of that controversy, which I personally agree with them being picked last, I don't really see anything that's necessarily controversial. It looks pretty even to me.
Yeah, I have issues with it. Even down to Sabonis or Gobert. I pick Sabonis too as well before I pick Gobert. So he could play inside or outside, basically. So he's more versatile than Gobert right now. But as far as the order, who went where, I have no issues, man. I know LeBron won is Zion Williamson, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think that was the guy. Yeah, you won it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won Zion. But outside of that, though, I have no issue with the order, who got drafted in order.
I will tell you this: the only thing I say, if I was Team Durant, I would try to pick up the pace because if you got a combination of Luka Doncic, Jokic, Sabonis, and Rudy Gobert, any four of those guys on the court at the same time, whatever. Granted, they could play basketball, but they're not gonna be the best in a full court setting. Get those four guys out there at once.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
a good point.
you got Luka out there. When you got Luka and Curry, you got somebody out there shooting the rock, though, so it doesn't really matter what you got to be big, so to speak. You got Curry, Luka out there, I guess, kind of it was a good fit.
I wouldn't be surprised to see LeBron not play as much this year, take himself
Yeah,
out some. I could see that.
yeah, I would agree. I don't see him playing heavy minutes. There's no real reason for him to. Plus, like Theo said, LeBron was one of the guys who didn't necessarily want to be there. So why play him extended minutes?
Yeah.
I agree.
They actually had. I remember years ago hearing about this thing where coaches used to actually ask the guy who coaches the All-Star game not to play the players so many minutes. So now I don't know if they still do it with this format. It used to be that the starters had to play X amount of minutes, stuff like that. But listen, I'm guessing with this format, it's probably not the same.
Now, speaking of formats, are they going with that same weird fourth quarter thing again, or whatever that was last year? Or is it a standard, game?
I haven't heard anything, but I'm kind of hoping it's not that crappy format. I mean, is I particularly didn't like that fourth quarter thing that they did last year.
Yeah, me personally, I prefer just the standard game. I know they tried to do something, and the NBA is good for that, switching things up. But I think that particular one for me didn't work out too well.
Yeah, you know what? I just looked it up while we're talking, and it's the same way. They're gonna stop. They're gonna at the end of the third quarter, the fourth quarter will have there's no time, and the teams will play to a final target score, meaning that the game. Yeah, so I don't know what that could be. I mean, that seems like you guys watch the Big Three. You ever check those games out where they have like that Elam ending and all that stuff where if you was him, you got to win by two, and if at a certain score, that's the end of the game. And at that point, to some extent, it makes the first three quarters less valuable because if at the end of the game, three quarters is 87-80, and then you tell me the next person to score 12 wins, I mean, what's kind of the point of the first three quarters?
Right. Yeah, I don't like how I'm pretty sure it's played out to the clock stops. Well, I have 41st wins. I don't like that. Mm-mm.
Yeah, so it said each of the first three quarters will begin 0-0. So basically, you got every score is like an individual. You win the quarters, maybe.
They're trying too hard, man. They're trying too hard. It's too much.
Yeah, I think they're doing too much. Just let them play a standard game.
Right.
And if you want to add some excitement to it, maybe eventually look into going the route of baseball where whoever wins, but they would have to go back to the East-West format, I guess. But whoever wins, home court advantage is on the line. If they want to add some type of stakes to it or something. But I think they need to just leave it alone in terms of the format of the quarters and stuff like that. I think they're reaching a bit now.
So they do have one interesting thing. It's like a tribute to Kobe, I guess. So that fourth quarter, it says the final target score will be determined by taking the leading team's total points for the three quarters and adding 24 points. So if whatever team at the end of three quarters to win the game is that number plus 24. I mean, okay. I mean, I think we could have did something a little more than that, but I guess that's a way of doing something.
Yeah, they make sense of court. You know, a picture of Kobe or the potential Kobe logo or something like that. If you want to pay respects to him, but I think they're trying a bit too hard with some of this stuff. Like I don't want to have to sit down and go through a rule book to follow the game. You know, I just want to be able to sit back, enjoy. But now I can't remember half of the stuff you just said, and I'm sure most of the fans won't either.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be chaos. People gonna be like, "What is this?" Because I know if I didn't just read it, I would be like, "What is this?" I'm pretty much sure I'm not gonna remember this tomorrow either. That's how crazy it is.
I agree with Reem just said about just maybe have a logo in the middle of the court. Maybe have a specialized jersey. We have a Kobe logo on All-Star game jerseys only. We do that.
Yeah,
And Jerry Bryant just have the All-Star game jersey with Kobe Bryant's logo on it instead. That'd be very nice.
yeah, and as far as the NBA with their contracts and stuff, that should work because Kobe was on the night, so I don't even think they would have mind doing that.
Right.
Yeah, put like on the jerseys, and maybe they'll do that too. I'm not sure, but put like a patch or something for Kobe, something like that. I think would have been a little better than what they're attempting to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, but yeah, that I don't even think as far as representing them, how many people's gonna besides reading it now, how many people's gonna even understand what's going on? I mean, I'm sure they'll have the announcers talk about it. Oh yeah, now they're gonna play 24 points but it's not going to be anything that's like meaningful. So say oh okay, the last quarter we played till 24 points. So I don't really get that one.
Yeah, either one.
So besides the actual game, we got the contest is back. It seems like at least the dunk contest to me seems like it's scaled down. Listen, the 3-point contest still seems like it's got a good amount of people in the skills competition. So for the dunk contest, we got Anthony Simmons from the Blazers, we got Cassius Stanley from the Pacers, and we got Obi Toppin from the Knicks. I mean, looking at it, some of you guys tell me what you guys think of the field and who you think has the edge there, or who you think who probably won this.
I think not just due to COVID, but in general, I think the like extra festivities is kind of like dying down a bit because it's almost like it's become cool to sit in the stands and watch it than to participate in it, other than the All-Star game. So I'm not surprised by the field. I know they tried to get some big names. They tried to get Zion. He supposedly turned it down, and so I'm not really surprised there because I know these guys they like watching versus participating these days. In terms of winning, I got to go with, and it's a hard decision between him and Stanley, but I got to go with Toppin. He's representing the Knicks. He's from New York. He's a high flyer, so I'm going with Toppin. He's definitely hyping it up too, saying he's going to try to do some things that we haven't seen before. So I guess we'll see. I've heard that a million times, and then guys get out there and do the same thing, that I used to do in the park, go myself.
Yeah.
But Stanley's a high flyer. That much I know. Simmons, I didn't know he was much of a flyer. So I'm a little shocked to see him in it, but I'm excited to see what he has. But I'm going with Toppin.
Yeah, I'm going with Toppin based on he's a bigger, more lankier. He's more of a explosive dunker than the other two participants. I think this is being held in halftime of the All-Star game. Am I mistaken?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's pretty different. That's kind of cool. Keep you entertained, keep you involved with the All-Star game. Sometimes it can be boring. The All-Star break or halftime show could be boring sometimes. Depends, but I like that new idea of having a dunk contest at halftime. But I'm gonna go with Obi. I've seen him do some explosive things, on YouTube, so to speak. So, but he paid for the Knicks, so keep it home. Keep it hometown with Obi Toppin.
For me, I'm kind of torn. I want to see Obi Toppin one because I want to see a hometown thing. But I actually, like when I was thinking about this, I went and looked at some of these videos, and I watched some of the stuff like from Cassius Stanley and Drew League in California, where he's taking off from almost the free throw line in the middle of the game and stuff like that. But I think Toppin seems like a guy who actually practices this type of stuff. So he seems like he's engaged to do it. Whereas the other guys, Simmons, I don't know too much, like you said, about him being a dunker. Might be just a free trip to Atlanta, but a free trip to the festivities. But Stanley, I know he can at least jump. He can jump and dunk. Simmons, I've seen somebody look like he can jump. But Toppin, like you guys said, he seems to be the most engaged in doing this and stuff. And you always see like videos of him at practice and stuff like that doing stuff. So I think this is a good event for him. I think it's another feel-good moment for the Knicks this year too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you guys a question. You guys got to know this answer. You guys are Knicks fans, so you need to tell me who are the two other Knicks players to win the dunk contest. Y'all got to tell me this.
Was it Nate? Was one of them?
Nate was one. The other one's a little bit further back, not too far back, but a little further. Put it this way: I don't know if Kareem. I met the other one. You alive? I tell you a story. I met him, and he let me try to drive his car. He actually used to date a girl in my neighborhood.
I could guess the other one, but I'll let you try before I try. I know
he's a Kentucky player. He's a Kentucky player.
Yeah, Kenny Skywalker.
Yep, Kenny Skywalker. I can tell you Kenny Skywalker was crazy because he dated a girl in the neighborhood and he had a Porsche with a stick shift, right? I didn't know nothing about no stick shift, but Kenny Walker was trying to show me like, yeah, you want to try it? How to drive his Porsche with a stick shift. So in the neighborhood, he was a cool dude.
Nice.
He would come through every once in a while.
The only thing with Toppin, I'll say, is sometimes they take points away from like big men in the dunk contest because of the way it looks. Stanley's not a short guy. Usually they'll give extra points if you're like 6'1", 6'2", which is why Nate Robinson is like 3-time champion. He wasn't, doing some impressive dunks, but he was also getting some extra points due to his height.
Yeah.
So Stanley's what, maybe 6'6", 6'7", something like that?
Yeah, he's
Toppin, being 6'9", 6'10", he may lose a little points based on his height. I know they tend to deduct points, it seems, from big men.
If OBC's Dr. J or Dwayne Wade, he's in trouble. he's in trouble.
I will tell you this: if he gets out there, like one of the things for him is, like you said, with his height, he can't afford to miss dunks. Like when you're tall, there's no room for you out there throwing the ball. There's nothing worse than seeing a 6'10" dude throw the ball in the air off the floor or whatever. Let me throw it off the floor and try that 4 times. They're not gonna give you no credit for that. Like Nate, for instance, Nate at his height, if he throws the ball 4 times, we could live with that. At 6'10", you can't be throwing the ball off 4 or 5 times and the clock almost running out. I think that's kind of what took some of the luster away from the dunk contest too. When you got all that stuff going on, where you got guys taking 7 tries in a minute and a half or something. That. I mean, anybody that's ever played basketball knows that once you get to the second one or third one, it's over with. You're not gonna have the same energy trying to dunk the basketball after trying it 5 times.
Right.
So it's like, all right, man, you might as well. I remember watching one years ago, somebody laid it up after all that time. Like, you know what? I'm not going to dunk. I'm just lay this ball up, get the basket.
Plus, I think the league at one point started, like they changed the rules where it was like, all right, round 1 is a throw ball dunk. This round you got to do this round you got to do that. So they put these restrictions in place, to try to limit what people can do. Because I remember they had one round was like you have to do a throw ball dunk. The next round was you have to involve one of your teammates or something like that, right? Because I remember Steve Nash being out there with Stoudemire for
kicking the ball,
So I think they need to get away from that stuff and just let guys be creative on their own too. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, I do think we are missing some key players though. Like I would love to see Zion. And the craziest thing is I think they asked Zach LaVine. He said no, but some video surfaced to him throwing the ball between both legs. You seen that one? I think there's a video out there where he put the ball between one leg and then put it between the other one, and the ball just popped out. So these guys are not going to be in this, but we'll see other guys. But yeah, he actually in a layup line tried to throw the ball between both legs.
Yeah.
Check that out.
So
I did see one in that was posted on Levine on the layup line where he made it was one between only one leg, but it was still like some crazy dunk.
yeah, he threw the one he threw off the floor.
Yeah, I seen that one.
Yeah, so you got guys for them that you couldn't even do that. There are some other guys like you remember the alleged Texas Twister years ago from Tony Dumas, the 720.
Yeah, Dumas.
Yeah, I still haven't seen one of those ever. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there might be somebody out there that says they've seen it, but I can honestly say I've never seen the 720.
Yeah, I've seen people maybe pull off a 540.
Yeah,
but I've never seen a 720 really.
I can tell you this. I think in my heyday, I could probably give you about 420. You get part of the way. I definitely could get the 360. I had that one, but I'm not the 540, 720. Nah.
Yeah,
I get a little bit past the 360 where I'm kind of doing something crazy. You're like, well, I don't know what he's doing. But yeah, I'm definitely not getting those 720. But
another guy I would like to see in it too is what about Ja Morant? Because he's a high player, you know. He would have been another name to see in there.
You know what's funny? He strikes me as a guy that if he would have made the All-Star game, he probably would have did it. Yeah.
It wouldn't be surprising, you know.
It'd have been smart for the NBA to try to get guys who made the game to participate too.
Yeah.
But you know what I think it is too, and I get that. If you look at the guys participating, I don't think somebody said this before. I don't think it's enough at stake for them to do it. Like, I mean, it sounds crazy, you know, to a regular person working, but I don't know how much, unless he's going to donate the money, what Zach LaVine's going to do with $50,000 or whatever, or 75,000 or whatever, or you know, or the what's Zion Williamson? Zion Williamson, what Knights paying him?
Very back in a minute. Keep talking, okay?
All right. Yeah, I don't know. You know, I don't think that the prize may be not enough for these guys or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. But how much could you possibly offer? You know, like you said, these guys are millionaires. So how much could you offer?
You offer $1 million, you have 72 candidates in the dunk contest.
Most of them being on the end of the bench.
Yeah, guys who can't dunk going to try to be in the contest. But I don't know. I mean, there's not really much you could do. I mean, you know how you know it's watered down? Years ago when you won the dunk contest, it was almost directly attached to a sneaker deal. So guys who won a dunk contest usually got some kind of sneaker deal. You don't even see that anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Most of the times now, these guys get their deals before they even do anything on the court these days.
Yeah.
So like you said, winning the dunking contest was like, all right, now we got to give this guy a deal. You know, he just accomplished something. Now you got guys like Kevin Knox with sneaker deals, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, that really isn't. I don't even know what the litmus is to get a sneaker deal. I guess knowing somebody somewhere, because some of these guys, I mean, I wouldn't even mess with them on those sneaker deals. I guess some companies are a little, you know, starved for talent to get on there. But I mean, I remember like going back to like years ago, like D Brown, he got the pump after the dunk contest with the move, he got the pumps. But realistically, I can't remember the last player that got the sneaker deal after a dunk contest. Now I think it's I don't even think they do that anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So
realistically, I mean, that is you get some high flyers, but you definitely get like the lower paid dudes participate in this more than the higher paid dudes.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know what they do to attract the big names back to it.
Yeah. So we got the dunk contest. We got the 3-point contest. Devin Booker was supposed to be in it, but he's not in it anymore. So, oh boy, here we go again. You got Jaylen Brown, Mike Conley, of course.
Oh, he's Booker's replacement for the 3-point contest too.
Yeah, this is getting crazy now. We got Mike Conley in the 3-point contest. You got Jaylen Brown, Steph Curry, Zach LaVine, Donovan Mitchell, and Jason Tatum. So who you guys got for that one?
Did you say Lillard there? For some reason, I thought he was in it.
No, that's the crazy thing. I hope so, but from what they have, I don't see Lillard as being in there. He should be in there, but I don't think he's in it. You know what's funny? You never know. It seems like some of these things are off, but Lillard right now is not mentioned to be in there.
That's interesting. From that bunch, I gotta go with Steph. You know, it's hard to go against him. I'm going with Steph.
The only other person that I could even give a shot to is maybe like Zach LaVine. I don't think some of these other guys. I mean, I think they decent in-game shooters, but for one thing, I noticed that a lot of bigger guys, it's hard to get those shots up off the rack when you're not used to doing it. So, I mean, some of these guys can't even shoot in the season, so I don't not that well. So, I guess the criteria now is just wanting to be in the game. Like realistically, if you look at the top 3-point shooters out there, of course Devin Booker's is Steph. You know, Steph is the premier, but I don't understand why they don't have guys like Joe Harris. I mean, you got some guys out there that's knocking down threes. Seth Curry, his brother, should have been in there. So there's some guys that JJ Redick, Tim Hardaway Jr. So I guess
Joe Harris, did he win it before? I thought he won it before too, right? So
I think he won last year.
Yeah, so he should have had an invite unless he turned it down for whatever reason. He definitely should have been invited back.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's kind of Conley is the replacement for him in the 3-point contest too. So
you know what? I wonder how much of that is. All right, we didn't get the big names that we wanted for the dunk contest. We can't afford to have, the eighth man on the team, in the 3-point contest too. In other words, we need these names out here for the 3-point contest to make up for the lack of names in the dunk contest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is better for the league.
So I wonder how much of that it factored into it, played into it. Because there, you just named at the very least, whether they're the greatest shooters in the world or not, you name some star players. With the exception of Conley, all of them are pretty much stars. And again, Conley's not bad. He's just not on these guys' level.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. They are stars, and they they all participate in the game too. So it's not like they brought anybody in from that's not going to be there already. So that's probably part of the reason why Conley might be there, because he's replacing Booker, and they want to fill in the slot possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, he's already there, so you don't have to make provisions to get somebody else in. So it probably was easier for him.
Yeah,
should be Trae Young in that spot. That'd be real nice. Have a Trae Young.
That is true. Yeah, you're right. Thinking about 3-point shooting, Trae Young's not there. Yeah,
should be there.
Yep, he definitely should be.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely some strange stuff going on as far as, I still think they might, well, wow, that is true. And it's in Atlanta. It's in Atlanta, and we haven't named one Atlanta Hawk player participating in anything. Wow, that's that. Yeah, they're not no Atlanta Hawk players.
I would have liked to see, now that you mentioned that, I would have liked to see John Collins maybe get in on that dunk contest,
Yeah.
He's another high flyer.
I mean, even guys don't play an all-star game, at least play in different other skills activities. Like, chess, 3-point shot, a horse, so to speak, or 2-on-2, something.
And they're already there. So it's not like, you got to bring them in and stuff like that. So that is interesting that there's no Atlanta Hawk players in anything. I'm looking at the skills challenge, and I see they got Robert Covington, Doncic, Chris Paul, Julius Randle, Sabonis, and Vujacic. I mean, Robert Covington is coming in basically. He's not even on any event, so he's just coming in on his own. The rest of the guys, again, that's 3-point contest. All-Star game participants. I mean, I could see somebody like Doncic or Paul winning this. I think it's a little harder for big guys to win this. What do you guys think?
Yeah, and that's another thing, like another one of those NBA changes where I'm not sure it's necessarily working out for the better. Is they changed the format of this where they kind of sort of went with the smalls and bigs kind of format.
Yeah.
Before it was mostly guards, right? Point guards, a couple of shooting guards, and then they all of a sudden we want to see bigs in there. So you started seeing the Jokic type of guys get in there. But yeah, like you said, I could see Doncic winning it, even though he's a bit slow-footed. I would love to see Julius Randle get it. I don't think that's going to happen per se, but I would love to see him get it.
Why not Julius? Why not Julius? But if you betting on this, I would probably bet CP3.
Yeah.
The shorter guys seem have more skill set, used to the quick passing and the shooting and stuff like that, and stopping the drop of a dime, so to speak. But why not Julius, man? Why not?
I don't know if it was last year, but didn't a big recently won it, right?
Okay, see, all right. You got to research that. See, find out who won it.
Yeah,
I think they might have. I think it was somebody that big that won it.
Yeah,
I mean, looking at these guys, my concern would be them. Well, let's see. From a foot speed standpoint, Julius Randle can definitely win from a foot speed because he's not slow.
Yeah,
so
he's
that he can do. The bounce pass and the 3-point shot might be the tougher parts for him.
Well, he's
Sabonis,
improved those areas though.
he did. Sabonis, I don't know if he's fast enough. And Vujacic, Vujacic handling the ball.
yeah.
I don't know.
If
he wanted it, that would be the biggest surprise to me if Vujacic won it.
Well, those four, Vujacic is a better shooter.
Yeah, he's the better shooter. Yep.
Sabonis got skill sets though, man. He can pass that rock like his dad.
Yeah, he can. He can.
I'm looking at it now. Quite a few bigs have won in 2015, 2016. Karl Anthony Towns. The following year, 2016, 2017, Porzingis. And last year, 2019, 2020, Bam Adebayo.
Nice.
Yeah, so there's been some big. So Julius is
he's got a shot.
Yeah, he's got a shot there.
He got a shot. That would make for a good night. You got to play in an All-Star game. They win a couple of events. That's usually like a coming out party for a team to show that the team's moving forward and progressing when they start, getting recognized on the national stage. So that definitely would be good.
One thing I wanted to ask y'all is, what do you think about? Granted, there's no game this year, but what do you think about the format for the Rising Stars with the whole world versus the U.S. essentially? And the reason why I bring this up, right, is again, being a Knicks fan, you've seen IQ basically get snubbed, but you're seeing guys on the world team, and I think he should have been there over some of those guys from the U.S. as well. But you're seeing guys on the world team that have no business being in a Rising Stars game or anything. Granted, no actual game this year, but they're being recognized. But yet you see a guy like IQ essentially in this case being penalized because he's American, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't agree with that format just for the basic reason that you said. There's not enough players from let's say overseas to make, like, I'll give you a perfect example. How many games have you heard about Facundo Campazzo playing?
No, that's the guy from Denver. I was about to say, who is he? I don't even know who he is. But
I'm just picking some guys from last year. Yeah. Fucazo. Yeah, you never even heard of this guy, right? So, you look at it like, okay, Nickeil Alexander Walker's doing a little better. Um, Lugans Dort. I know he's okay. He's an average player, but is he
He's
like
a
a rising star in the league?
yeah, he's a good defender, but that's about it.
Hey, listen, Precious Achua is from the Bronx, and I can tell you he plays okay, but playing 9 minutes a game or 10 minutes a game, I don't know how you could be a rising star. Because I like his game, but I wouldn't say that he's doing better than what's his name Quigley.
And here it is. Quickly is when you look at PER, I think he had the highest PER out of all the rookies, right? Because he's playing limited minutes. He's still at one point he was like second in scoring. I think he might be down to third or fourth now, and it's mostly due to his minutes. It's mostly due to Tibbs not playing him as much.
I'm gonna give you some interesting stuff here too. Remember, these games are composed of first and second year players, right? How is it that you don't see Cam Reddish on here when Cam Reddish is in the top 10 in steals and blocks, or whatever, averaged about 13 points, gets about 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and he's not on any of these.
Then I see like Keldon. I think Keldon Johnson is on there, I believe.
Yeah,
And
James Wiseman hasn't even really played a lot of games, and he's on there.
so some of this stuff, I think the league needs to look at. Quickly is an obvious one, but there's more people than just him. But he definitely stands out where I think he was ripped off. And I think part of it too is if you think back to last year, granted he didn't have the best rookie season, but you mean to tell me RJ Barrett shouldn't have been on an all rookie team?
Oh, he definitely should have been. I mean, look,
The guy was like what, second or third. I think he might have been third in scoring, right behind maybe Zion and John Morant. He was probably third in scoring. He's a decent rebounder. You can't tell me his defense is where he's a complete defensive liability. He didn't shoot the ball well. He was inefficient. A lot of rookies are, but there's no way you could name, in my opinion, 10 other rookies that was better than him, because you have the first team, second team. I don't think there was 10 rookies that was better than RJ Barrett last year, but he got snubbed as well, I think.
Well, you look at people they got. So I mean, Theo Melodon.
Yeah, he's another guy for the world team, right? Theo Melodon. And again, you go back to the Quickly argument. I get the whole world format that they're trying to put in place, but you're robbing certain guys just by using that format, So I think in my opinion, they may want to look at moving away from that format, because I don't think it's doing all the players who's deserving justice.
Yeah, and even some of these guys. Don't get me wrong, I like them as players, but even Michael Mulder, he doesn't even play that much for the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, exactly. And who would you say on the U.S. team? Like to me, you already named one. I would have picked Quickly over Wiseman, because Wiseman hardly played, and Quickly's numbers are better for the start of the season, and that's partly due to Wiseman being unhealthy. So that's one guy that stands out. I would have picked Quickly over. I would have put Quickly in there over him.
You know what I think some of this has to do too? It may sound crazy. I think sometimes it has to do with your coach too, because it's almost like whether you do well in a short stint or a long stint, it seems like if you get to be on the court more, they always count that as being better too. Some of these guys it doesn't justify. But if you look at some of these other guys, their numbers, like the numbers may be low, like the guy, let's say Dort from Oklahoma City. He plays a lot of minutes.
Yeah,
I don't know if he puts up statistics, like he doesn't put up statistics as far as scoring like maybe Barrett, but he plays a lot of minutes. Hachimura plays a lot of minutes. Alexander Walker, well, here's another guy I don't understand either. I mean, Denny Ajwa, he starts, right? In Washington, does he start now?
Yeah, he starts. He's starting now.
So he gets a good portion of minutes. So they might be confusing actual playing time with ability, because there's a lot of guys here that get a lot of minutes. I mean, you get guys that are like Achua's effective in small spurts because he only plays in small spurts. And Brandon Clark. So you could break that whole team down. But there's some guys, I mean, there's a lot of notable guys that's kind of left off these teams.
Like I'm looking at it now, going through the just the U.S. side. You have LaMelo Ball, who I would say should be there over quickly, right? I would say LaMelo's probably leading right now for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I would say so. It's either him or Anthony Edwards at this point.
Yeah, so Anthony Edwards is second. That's not really debatable. I would say he's deserving, of course. This one to me is debatable. Granted, I think he's having a decent season, but Tyrese Halliburton, is he having a better season, you think, than Quickly? He's playing more minutes, so that goes back to your point, Kenyatta. I don't know if his numbers are necessarily better than Quickly's, though, given those minutes that he's playing. So that's a questionable one. Tyler Hero is, I think they fell in love with him early. They fell in love last year with him. This year, his numbers are kind of down, I would say, probably. Plus, he hasn't even been healthy. He's missed quite a few games. But all right, you want to put Hero in, that's debatable. But this guy hasn't even played really beyond DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah,
he's been hurt. He's still hurt. From my
I think the Atlanta player's been out in general. I know Cam Reddish hasn't played in weeks.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? So
that's probably why he's not there. He hasn't played. I don't know how many games he played either.
So Hunter, I would say, is debatable. Keldon Johnson, I think IQ's numbers are probably better.
It's probably the minutes again. He starts.
Then you have Ja Moran, of course. Ja Moran.
Yeah,
he's ahead of IQ, I would say. Michael Porter Jr. is debatable, but I would probably put Michael Porter Jr. on the team.
Yeah,
I think he's deserving. Of course, Zion. And then the last one is James Wiseman, who I would put IQ above him too. So it's definitely some things there. And if, like you said, we already went down the world side of things, you go down the world list, IQ is probably ahead of most of those guys, if not all of them, except his own teammate, RJ Barrett.
You know what I think they hurt. I think a lot of times what hurts him is stuff like what we seen the other night. The other night his coach chose to start Frank Ntilikina when he didn't have other guards over him. So when you look at it like from the overall perspective of the league and stuff, if your own coach won't put you ahead of the third or fourth string guards, why are we going to put you on a team that represents you being great? All the rest of these guys, what they have in common is that the coaches all kind of support them or push them. None of these guys are not, with the exception, at least I tell you on the American side, every single one of these guys start.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then you look at the world roster, I could say Alexander, he definitely doesn't start. Achua doesn't start. So the world team is more of a stretch because a lot of those guys don't start. But everybody on the American team, they all start. And they get major minutes. I'm not saying they're more effective. They start. And it's probably because of the teams they're in and the coaches they have. Whatever that either, they're in positions where the coach is like, listen, these guys got to get out there and learn. And there's some guys that should be here too. Like if you look at some of these guys like quietly that people don't talk about, the guy in Detroit's pretty good, Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, he plays pretty well. Yep, he's not even on honorable mention enough, so he's not bad. There's a couple of guys out there that are doing all right. That they just not. It just comes down to some of it is marketability, like what they feel is how to who they can market out there as the face of the league and stuff like that. I do believe this. I do believe if the Knicks weren't in the process of coming up and they were already there, he would be there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Plus, like you said, a lot of it has to do with Tibbs jerking him around on his minutes and stuff like that too. Even though he's producing, he's playing, limited minutes, so that's not helping his case.
No, not at all. Because you figure if they say, well, what are we gonna argue for him? His coach won't put him on. His coach put Frank Ntilikina out there, and we trying to trade him. But listen, they won't put him out there, so it makes a tough case for you when that happens. I mean, Barrett is an obvious one. If Barrett wasn't on there now, that would be a big problem. So Barrett is an obvious one. So it was pretty bad he wasn't on there last year, but it's definitely a problem with that. But it's sad, but it's a lot of, I think it's a lot of self promotion, or rather team promotion involved in this. Team getting behind you. Some of these guys probably even had like videos and stuff to campaign for them to be in on the team and all types of stuff.
Barrett made the game last year. They just jerked Barrett on all rookie teams.
It's two coaches in the league that I really don't see campaigning. Like, put it this way, I could tell you this: Greg Popovich wasn't out there campaigning for Keldon Johnson to be on no team. That wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And Tibbs ain't campaigning for nobody to be on no team either. Some other guys, I mean, even Doc Rivers, I heard him say foolishness about people deserving to be on teams. But I couldn't see either one of those two dudes. They don't even care unless, you know what they'll campaign for? If you want them to campaign for quickly to be on the all-defensive team, then Tibbs will campaign for that one.
Right now, based on PER, which I don't necessarily think is the best stat to go by when rating these players, but based on PER, Quickly is the second among rookies, with LaMelo Ball being ahead of him by 61/10 of a point. You know, but yeah, here's the thing. It goes back to what you said, Kenyatta. LaMelo Ball is playing 28.9 minutes, whereas Quickly is playing 18.8 minutes.
Yeah.
So LaMelo Ball is playing roughly 10 more minutes a game than Quickly.
Yeah. You get more. You know what's funny about that? Like, a lot of times in those discussions, people think of it this way. It could go both ways. I agree. So if you gave him that 10 more minutes, would it be 10 more positive minutes, 10 more minutes, or 10 more bad minutes? So it could go either way. Like,
it's a good
in
point.
10 minutes, like a guy that, you know what makes you efficient? If you play 18 minutes and you get 1.5 turnovers, you're efficient. If you play 28 minutes and you get 4.5 turnovers, you're not efficient. So some of that stuff will factor into it too. I don't think him in particular, because the way he plays, it will really go up much, because he's guys who turn the ball over are guys who pound the ball a lot and pass a lot, who do a lot of dribbling. He's usually like a 3-dribble type of guy in and out of his hands. Like, I don't see him throwing the ball between his legs 15 times and all that type of stuff. So I don't think from a turnover perspective it'll affect him. But the PER stuff is crazy, because I do think it's a decent stat, but if you ever look at that plus minus on the side of players in the box score.
Yeah.
So if you solely went by the plus minus, half of these dudes, you would never even touch them. It's almost like, I look at a side of the thing, this dude is like minus 36 when he's in the game. I'm like, why is he playing? You got a minus 36 when you're on the court. I mean, he just sits you down in the corner.
Yeah, and you already ahead of the game, right?
Yeah, I think PER is just another statistic to get players money. What I mean by that is this, right? Quickly is the perfect player to take for it. So if I play 18 minutes, right, these are my numbers. If I play 28 minutes, these are my numbers. But PER says that if I play 10 more minutes, I could get these numbers. We don't know that, but based on this player efficiency rating, this is what he should be. So you should be paying him the same money as this guy. Because you're the reason that he's not getting those numbers, because you're not playing him. And that's what they do. Like, you get, sometimes it works out. I gotta say, whoever's agent, Christian Wood's agent, was smart, because he didn't take that deal that Detroit was offering for half the money. He was like, well, based on what we see with these numbers, this is who he should be. So it panned out in his case. But there's other guys that the more minutes you give them, they don't get better.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this player efficiency thing is all based on, okay, I play less time, but if I got to play more, I would look like this. There's no way you could believe that a guy that can't really do much in 5 minutes is going to look great in 10.
Yeah, that's
You
a
know
good point.
what? I need time to warm up. I can't really get my game off in the 8 minutes. Like I give you, it's choosing homegrown players again. You think that Dennis Smith Jr. would get more efficient by playing double the time?
I guess we're seeing it now where, because in Detroit, he's getting a little bit more of a shot. He looks a little better. His confidence seems to be up, which is a good thing for him. But his numbers obviously improved. It was hard to go any lower than zero statistics across the
Yeah,
board on the Knicks.
the average
Now,
one
you
now.
know, now his points and stuff are up. But before he wasn't averaging anything. He wasn't playing. He was talking about going to the G League
Yeah,
for minutes.
I mean, I look at this whole thing. I think it's tough because statistics. I mean, we always look to define players only by statistics, but you sometimes it's hard to place value on other things. Because if you look at it, I still say this. People don't believe it. Getting Mark Gasol and letting Dwight Howard and this guy go was him was a big mistake. That was a big mistake. Yeah, they might score 5 more points, but they getting killed at the front of the rim.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
can't stop anybody. And Anthony Davis is out, so now you're really seeing it.
I
So
would
they
have
just
rather had McGee and Howard.
and they let Howard go essentially for $1 million. And it wasn't like he was asking for 14. They didn't want to play two. Yeah, we'll keep you for 1.4. The minute you say 2 million, now that's too much for you. I'm like, so you let him go for somewhere between 600,000 and $1 million because you don't want to pay him, but you shortchanged Kuzma and talk about signing Schroeder to a 5-year deal for 18 to 20 per. I'm like, yeah, don't worry, LeBron will be finished his career in Cleveland or something.
LeBron going to the Knicks.
Right? That'll be his next stop because with these roster moves and the way they moving, I don't know how you signing Schroeder to a $20 million 5-year deal or whatever, and I couldn't see what direction that's going.
I think if Bronny makes the league, then I think that's where LeBron is going. Wherever LeBron James Jr. ends up, then I think LeBron will probably try to close out his career there.
But Schroeder's playing well. I'll defend Schroeder though. He's playing better than I thought he would play. He's playing better than he played in Atlanta in OKC. Him playing with CP3 sparked something in his game, man. Because before this, man, he was like a down player. Playing with CP3 that 1 year OKC, and now playing the Lakers, you see a difference in his game, man. He's more steady. He's more consistent as a player for real.
I think CP3 holds them accountable. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, you
seen this game for sure on Schroeder's game.
Yeah, yeah. I heard with some of the practice. They even talking about the Devin Booker thing where he went out there and was like, "Listen, you might have to give out some numbers in order to become a better player, understanding how to be more efficient in doing things, turning the ball over less, taking better shots instead of taking the first shot. Like there's all types of tough shots. So CP3, I mean, for me, I can see him as a guy with a future in coaching.
Agreed. Yeah. Now it's funny you mentioned Devin Booker because I'm sure you heard the reports, the rumor. Here we go again, right? Setting it up where supposedly a star is gonna within the next 12 months is gonna force his way to the Knicks, force a trade to the Knicks. That's what Brian Windhurst was reporting. And Jay Williams was saying that he believes that star is Devin Booker. Based on Leon Rose, he was one of Leon Rose's clients. He went to Kentucky, so Big Blue Nation, right, is now pretty much the Knicks. So the rumor is that Devin Booker is that star that's planning to try to force his way to the Knicks. I don't know if there's any truth in it, but supposedly that's out there among these league executives.
Things are looking real good for the Knicks trying to play. When you talk about players getting snubbed, the All-Star games and skill games, things looking real good for the Knicks right now, man. So that being said, it's gonna be either him or Towns. It's gonna be a Kentucky player coming to New York. Who he
I
prefers,
mean,
better fit, we don't know right now. I'll take either or. Whoever want to come first, I'll take either or. Towns
agreed.
or Booker, But things look good for New York City right now as far as being Knicks fans. Got All Star. Got people getting snubbed. Got guys in on dunk contests. Things
Yeah,
look real
it's looking,
good
yeah,
right
fifth
now.
seed in the East.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. So, but either player I'm happy with. I probably would prefer
So
Towns. Honestly, out of the two, because we need somebody in the front court, the inside presence who can score, defend, rebound.
yeah, if I had to choose out of those two, I would choose Towns. I think what's going to happen with the Knicks probably is this: you're going to see a lot more Kentucky and North Carolina guys on there because that's the affiliate with the actual player agents and the assistant coaches. Like it was amazing how fast Theo Pinson became a Knick after he got released by the Nets. They literally released somebody to sign Theo Pinson. They released Alonzo Trier to sign Theo Pinson.
Yeah.
And with him, I mean, I don't even know how people could even. I like Theo Pinson, but it's not like he was a necessity to have that quick. Or you were competing with anybody to bring in Theo Pinson. So they're going to be allegiance. Like you'll find people on Kentucky. Like if you watch Kentucky this year, where they're not winning, the Knicks are subject to draft a Kentucky player in the second round. If they can get one of those top guys in the first round, like say what's this guy's name, Brian Boston, they will take Brian Boston. If
Right.
he's available when they pick, Brian Boston will be a Knick. And part of it, I mean, you got to trust those guys because Kentucky players, no matter what they do in college, they all seem to be much better in the pros because it's like Calipari, he can't let them all play one-on-one in college.
Yeah.
But he knows the guys he brought in were top one-on-one players on their teams and stuff like that. So as long as they can come in and they don't get too down off of what they didn't do in college or whatever, they usually come through in the NBA. Even if they're not starters, they still are right. Because I would tell you this, to me, I think Kevin Knox needs to change the scenery. I don't think he's a bad player. I just think he's not what the Knicks want. The Knicks want a different type of guy. Now, if you put him on a team where he gets the ball a little more and he's a little more offense centric instead of being like the seventh, eighth option or something, then he's good. Like on the nights where you see him get a lot of possessions or a lot of attempts, he shoots a fairly decent thing, but he can't. He's not a guy that's effective without the ball.
Yeah, what it is with Knox is like he came in the year after Jason Tatum, and I think that's what kind of killed him because I think they looked at here it is another light skinned guy that's 6'9", 6'8", can shoot the ball, dribble a little bit, but the difference between him and Tatum is that Tatum has like a much better handle. Kevin Knox can't really handle the ball. So I think we drafted him under the assumption that he would kind of sort of be the next Tatum. And his game is totally different. Kevin Knox is more of a spot up shooter. When you got a point guard who could break the defense down and find Knox in the corners and stuff like that, Knox will flourish. He's not the greatest defender, but he is long and he tries. So you could build him into a 3-and-D type of player. Whereas we were banking on this guy becoming a Jason Tatum type of player where you put the ball in his hands and just get out of the way. And that's just not who he is.
Yeah.
He's just not that type of player. Like you say, he can knock down shots. You give him, I'd rather see him out there taking some of those threes than Reggie Bullock, that's for sure.
I mean, hell, I'd rather see him taking threes over Obi Toppin. So
with that, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Knox is a finesse player, man. That's what it
yeah.
is. He's a finesse player. He's a very like Reem said, he's a good spot up shooter. And Reem hit on points, but about his skill sets. Also, his confidence is real low right now too. His confidence, getting playing time. He's more of a hand clapper right now. So it seemed like the McHale guys was a better pick than Knox. We could have the McHale guy from Villanova or a guy from Michigan State would have been a better fit right now.
Yeah, he's a little more rugged.
Right. We don't say like in hindsight, of course, though. But not have skill set, but maybe a change of scenery would be good for him. who get returned, maybe a second round draft pick. I wouldn't mind that, man. I wouldn't
I
mind.
think supposedly because I know they were high on like you said, the guy from Villanova to win. He's another 3-and-D type of player. But I think Knox supposedly went against Miles Bridges, is the guy from Michigan State, right? I think he went against supposedly Miles Bridges in a one-on-one in their workouts for the Knicks, and supposedly Kevin Knox somehow killed him in the
You know
one-on-one
what
workouts.
you know what that is? That's middle school rules. So if you check the ball up to me behind the 3-point line, and you got to be hanging back and stuff, and I just let you shoot like a fool, like I'm sure Bridges did. I'm sure if he could probably spin the ball and shoot the ball off the rack much better than Bridges could at the time. I don't even think he's a better shooter than Bridges right now. I think Bridges is actually a better shooter now. Because I mean, I tell you what, the Knicks would trade Kevin Knox and 4 other guys for Bridges right now today.
Yeah,
I would.
yeah. Of course. Ask Pat Riley about Dwayne Wade's workout. It was awful.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at Dwayne Wade now.
Yep.
Hall of Fame, first ballot. Great player,
Yep.
2 rings. Come on, 3 rings. Come on now.
Hey, you want to know something interesting? I was having an interesting conversation with a guy at work today, and today actually, and I'm gonna tell you, this is true, and a lot of players. All right, so we're talking about a bunch of millionaires for the most part, right? How come the guys that are already good and the guys who want to get better spend money and invest in themselves, and these other bum guys don't do nothing? I'll give you a perfect example. When Gordon Hayward came in out of Butler, did his body look like that? Could you see him handling the ball like that or jumping or doing any of that stuff? But in 2 years' time,
He had that in college. Butler had that in college, though, for sure.
but in 2 years' time, he went from being a college championship level player to being an NBA All-Star. You know what all he said he did? He said he played a personal trainer, he played a physical trainer, and got a dietitian. And that's all he said he did. And that's what got him there. But we got other guys that all they do every year, we keep telling them. And I don't get me wrong, I like some of these guys. I'm going to use Ben Simmons as an example. Ben Simmons is making how much money? And you tell me this guy can't spend time with a damn shooting coach or something, invest in a shooting coach? He'd rather hang out and not do nothing. And that's the problem. Like, you got a lot of guys like that. You look at a lot of these guys didn't come in the league how they are. They had them, even you got to do like LeBron. LeBron invests millions of dollars every year in his body, dietitians, training, all types of stuff, special techniques, cryo chambers. And the dude is the best. And we got guys over here that won't even invest $20,000 in themselves. So a lot of times, I mean, maybe if some of these dudes took off the gold chain, threw that back for $250,000, threw 50 of that thousand on something else. I mean, you look at these guys like, I don't even understand it. Like, you supposedly right now, if you took any one of us right now on this thing, right, and you told us, listen, we'll put you in a league, and all you got to do is spend we're gonna give you $1 million, but you got to spend $100,000 a year to try to get better, and we're gonna let you sit on the bench and be the 15th man. You know what we'd be doing? We wouldn't be having this conversation right now. We'd be on that bench, working out right now, shooting in the gym.
Plus, the other part to it, besides the money part to it, is this is literally your job. So this is all you have to worry about.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of working, this is your job. You get to hoop for a living. You know, when you're out there in your driveway, you know, at your big house, shooting, right? That you literally have all these different options in front of you. And like you said, I think Ben Simmons, I don't want to say the guy necessarily isn't working, but on that jump shot, but it certainly doesn't seem like he's working enough if he is. So he's a good example of it.
And Ben has a very good form too, man. I don't really understand. You see, Ben, he has a good form to me. I'm a left-handed guy. He has a very nice, good form. Follow through, everything else. I don't get it really.
I think some of it is attitude. Cause you ever see the Ben Simmons special, like when he was coming to the league in LSU, where he was like, I don't even know why I got to go to class because I'm not here for that. that kind of tells you what kind of person you're dealing with as far as the work ethic and the way they see things. Like you got guys like you gotta want to be good and you gotta want to be great. Some people we all heard that what's it, hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard. And all of these guys, you got some guys that are like natural born talented. They have this ability. But some of those guys don't work as hard as these other guys. And what happens is like I'm gonna take it back to the Knicks. Julius Randle probably worked harder this time being off than he probably any other off season ever. His body never looked like this. He never seemed like he had the stamina like this. He's handling the ball, shooting better. He invested in himself and it's paying off. But there's so many players that don't understand that. It always seems like the guys as friends, like Julius Randle was never bad. He just was never what he was. So somebody probably was like, yo, listen, Julius, you had a pivotal point in your career. Was he like 26, 27?
I think like, 26, yeah.
Yeah, you getting into prime of your career. You got one more year on a deal on the Knicks, and then you're a free agent. This is a turning point. This is where you either become a player that gets a lot of money or you become a guy that's getting the league minimum $2 million deals on 6 different teams for the rest of your career. So you got to make that choice on who you're going to become. Because right now, Julius Randle, I mean, before I can tell you this, before this year, I thought he was an okay player. I didn't think he was bad. Like, I know he took a beating. My biggest knock on him before this year was the turnovers. Like, he would get caught in the paint and turn the ball over just way too much. But now, it's going to be competition to keep Julius Randle on that team. Other teams going to be looking at him. But he earned that. And just some players, they don't seem like they get that part or understand that part that, when you get to the NBA, everybody can run and jump. You got to hold those. You're not the best shooter no more. You might have been the best shooter in your high school or on your college team, but in the NBA, you're not the number one shooter. I mean, these kids should be watching these other guys. Like, I think Anthony Edwards said it best. He was like, I watched the TV and I thought the guy was good or whatever, but when I really got to play against Steph, I really didn't understand how good he was until I had to get out there with him. Crazy, right?
Yeah,
completely crazy. I'm like, dude, you was the big man on your high school and the big man in college. This is Steph Curry. This is the big man in the NBA, not no regular dude. What you think he was? I didn't think he was that good. Yeah, okay.
I don't care if you said CP3 is still blasphemous for him to say that.
Yeah, because that's how these guys think. They think because they're the big fish in high school, they go out there do stuff in college, and they think just because they athletic it's just going to translate over. Mm-hmm. Nah, you gotta work these dudes. I mean, listen, these guys probably see these young dudes and see some of these other dudes, and they take it as a night off.
Right.
So Damian Lillard come out there and he's like, okay, I got Anthony Edwards tonight. All right, this is gonna be an easy one.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't gonna be able to stop me, and he not gonna be able to get nothing. And the refs damn sure ain't gonna make the calls for him. So he's pretty much done. But these dudes don't understand that. And then you go in there 2 or 3 years, and you still sitting around wondering why it ain't working out for you because you're not doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not working hard enough.
Yeah. Think about it this way. One of the most famous Knicks, Patrick Ewing, was a defensive player coming out of Georgetown. He went from being a shot blocker, rebounder who could get post moves to being damn near, a 28-point a game scorer? He had to work to get there. I think a lot of these dudes, they don't understand that part of the game, the work part. I mean, and that's where they get caught up. And, some dudes, like now with all this advancements and training and all this stuff, you get dudes that kind of microwave it out. Like, you could really become a good player in a year if you really work hard. A year later, you could be a different player.
Not all these guys have the Mamba mentality, right?
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
One of the quotes I love with Kobe is I always heard this quote where he was playing against Allen Iverson. He asked Iverson, "What you doing after the game?" Iverson said, "I'm going to the club." What you doing? He said, "I'm going to the gym." Everybody is like that.
Yeah.
make Kobe great, man. That's the Mamba mentality.
Yeah.
Gym rat.
I mean, and you hear some of these stories now, like this week, Zion Williamson, he must have had a bad shooting game, and that the press had to wait for him because he decided that before he did the press, he wanted to take like 100 shots on the floor before he even met with the press.
That's what's up.
Yeah, I see a lot of players on the Knicks doing that too, which is showing, quickly. I've seen videos of him out there after games. I listened to Thibs make a comment in a conference the other day where he's saying RJ Barrett, he thinks Barrett does it on purpose. Barrett sets up the shooting machine right in front of Thibs' office.
Yeah.
Thibs can see him, working on that jumper.
Yeah.
Smart.
He's
I
like,
think it's smart.
he said, I think he sets it up there, right there in that spot on purpose, so I could see him working. That's how you got to be.
The sad thing about it is that it may sound crazy. I don't know if I see Barrett in their long-term future. You know why? Because in order to get something, you got to give something up. And he's probably the highest thing they could give without giving away something they would have hurt him. You understand what I mean? Like, they're not going to give, if I got a choice between Barrett or Randall, I'm not giving you Randall. And at this point, if you look at the development of where Quigley's at as opposed to where RJ is, you might be willing to give RJ up before Quigley, right?
I wouldn't want to give any of them up, but like you said, unfortunately, if you're gonna let's say the Devin Booker thing is true, right? Devin Booker demands a trade next season. I want to go to the Knicks. Like you said, in order to get him, you got to give up something.
Yeah,
not going to take back, Alec Burks and two second rounders.
yeah.
It's not happening. You're going to have to give up some pieces, and that one of the main pieces, I'm sure, would be RJ Barrett. Is who they would want. Even Minnesota, they got a ton of guards over there, but I'm sure RJ Barrett would be on their list. We want RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be on the list because what happens is they know he's serviceable. Even if they don't see him as a starter, they know they could get something from him. On top of the fact he's still on the rookie deal, they probably will want to give you some kind of bum house contract that they got that costs a lot of money for a guy who does less and give you, to play him. So you might have to take a bad deal, give up RJ, and picks and stuff. But if you get certain things back, like I think Pat Riley was probably the best at that. So if I had to trade Mitchell Robinson and RJ Barrett to get Cat, you're gonna do that deal. Because realistically, if you got Cat, Mitchell Robinson's not gonna play. What you gonna keep him to play? Play 8 minutes a game or something? And then with RJ is the type of player, although he's good, he's not irreplaceable. So
yeah, he's not. I think he's starting. I wouldn't say irreplaceable, but he's starting to show that consistency, and he's starting to show who he could be. Because the guy right now, he's shooting this last month, he shot over 40% from 3-point range. I don't know if he'll be able to sustain that, average over 20 points. If RJ could, forget about averaging 25, 30 points, if he could be a consistent 20-point scorer where every night he's going to get 20 points and it's going to be somewhat efficient, I could live with that.
Well, I might get destroyed by you guys for this, but you guys tell me this, right? So right now you got RJ Barrett, right? That's making whatever money that he's on the pace to make whatever money, right? How much better is RJ Barrett than say like if you gave Bruce Brown RJ Barrett's opportunities? Or if you gave Taylor Horton RJ Barrett's opportunities? Or a whole collection of those what I call middle of the road guys, that blue guys. Right now, people will argue this and people will say they wouldn't, but the Nets won't trade you Joe Harris for RJ Barrett.
No, they probably wouldn't because RJ is more of a slasher playmaker, and having Kyrie, James Harden with the ball in their hands, KD, I don't know what RJ Barrett would be doing.
Here's the thing.
Not a spot up shooter. So Joe Harris serves a perfect role for them.
RJ Barrett is definitely better than those guys I named, but if you got rid of RJ Barrett, you could get a guy in there that gets a few less points, probably plays just as good defense or whatever, and does the same slashing stuff, probably for a lot less. You know what I mean? He's a higher, don't get me wrong, he's a higher upside than those guys. You know what you get with them. But if you need to trade him and you need to replace him, you might be able to get a guy that'll get you 6 less points for $2 million. So it's a toss up.
I like the way the Knicks are building. They're building finally through the draft. We obviously don't have enough talent on the team to be like a championship contender. So we need to add some pieces. But I personally think we need to continue doing what we've been doing. If we want to bring these guys in, I would look to bring them in if possible through free agency. If we can continue to win games, they'll want to come that way versus giving up pieces for them. I don't want to go down the Carmelo route again, where we got to deplete the entire roster just to bring in a Devin Booker. Because then what's the point? You know, you got to give up so many people to get Cat over here. What's the point in having them? It's going to be Cat, Julius Randle, and who else? You know.
Basically, you're on live. I'm gonna tell you something. This sounds crazy, and we already talked about it. You basically gonna have Kentucky. You're gonna have Cat, Julius Randle, and Quigley, and then you're gonna get Brian Boston, that's another Kentucky player, and then you're gonna get a bunch. You have Kevin Knox and a bunch of other Kentucky players. It's gonna be the Kentucky Knicks. They're gonna see who else they could get.
Monk as your 6 man for cheap. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Monk's gonna be there. Think about it. They were going after Monk too, right? They're gonna build. Don't get me wrong. Kentucky got a lot of talent.
Noel is another guy who's from Kentucky, right? Didn't Noel go to Kentucky?
Yep. Noel's from Kentucky. Yep.
He's another Kentucky guy.
They're gonna have a whole bunch of Kentucky guys in there. And don't get me wrong, Kentucky's got some good kids on the roster. Like I was watching a dude today that he's not gonna go that high. But he's like a high motor guy, like a power forward. They got him playing center that he blocks shots and rebounds and finishes around the basket. But he'll be available.
Mm-hmm.
So that they'll be able to get somebody like that in the second round. But I could see the Knicks just include them in a deal to try to move forward. And hopefully for the Knicks' sake, they don't do that whole blow it up and try to win the championship next year or something.
Right.
Because realistically, to me, I mean, and I'm kind of biased about it. If I'm the Knicks, I would put like a 2-year, 3-year timeline on it. You know why? Because you need KD and Harden and Irvin to start hating each other. Because that's how long it's going to take for anybody else to win a championship. Because now you got Blake Griffin talking about he wants to go there. I don't know if you heard about that. But, you know, that's a good segue into the buyout market. So Blake Griffin got bought out. And he's talking about he wants to go to the Nets. I mean, other than trying to pick up a cheap championship and these dudes being his friends, I mean, I couldn't see why. It's definitely not going to be an opportunity. What's he going to be there? They're not going to give him the ball to score. He must be a rebounder or something like that. But
Why not?
Should that be his first option? Like, I think the Lakers probably would give him a better opportunity as far as playing, and maybe even the Clippers too.
Both spots would be good for him, Lakers or the Nets.
Yeah.
He has nothing to prove. He's shown during his heyday what he could do. Just go in there, run the floor in a fast break. It's hard going to hit you off with a fast break.
Yeah.
Rebound, defend. And, with those three guys on the court, man, he's going to have ample space to do his thing. And I'm quite sure he's a strong kid. He got a rebound. He can jump a little bit, as much as back in the days, but with Durant, KD, and Kyrie on the floor, you have a lot of space to, get those rebounds and chance shots and get your own shots, you could say.
Yeah. I heard something that JaVale McGee might be in that market, but supposedly where the NBA rules work, the Lakers couldn't bring him right back if they wanted to anyway. It'd have to be something where he'd have to get signed or trade. So it's a lot of different funny rules as far as like how the players can move. Like you can't like after a certain time and stuff.
Yeah, the Lakers should stay in pat. They can't, like you said earlier too. They have no protection. We paid Caldwell Pope's money. He's averaging 9 points a game. You replaced Wes Matthews, who's playing awful. Plays Danny
Yeah.
Green. He's playing awful. And that's what it is. Short been hurt, AD's hurt. But you just should cut the guys from the previous team. Kept McGee, Jerome McGee, kept Dwight Howard. Should have kept Danny Green. Stay pat. Because like I said in the previous show, who'll get better within the span? Who will get better besides the Nets? They got Harden. Who got better?
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody's still pat, except for the Pistons when they signed Jeremiah Grant. Look at Denver Nuggets. They went backwards, Denver Nuggets.
They did.
They lost Grant. I heard them.
Lakers, this is why you hear Lakers talk about Hassan Whiteside or maybe someone like him. Let themselves, man. Stay pat. Have a better record right now instead of being in third or fourth place.
They got some interesting guys that they consider in buyouts for, but I don't know if any of these guys move the needle. Like when you talk about guys like George Hill and Trevor Ariza, Otto Porter, he might be a decent person pickup, but I don't see like where any of these guys really like move the needle for a team. I do think it's like a huge market. A lot of teams looking for big men.
Yeah, a lot of teams need bigs.
And I don't know if they're going to buy Andre Drummond out, too. That's a big buyout. And to his credit, he's a free agent. So to me, I got to give him credit. I'm not taking a whole big discount to get off your team when I don't know where my next money source is coming from.
Right.
I sit there. If you want to send me home and pay me $14 million to sit home, I'm not going to let you pay me $7 and let me go.
Right.
Plus, besides that, not to say these other guys can't, but Drummond is not in the same category as a JaVale McGee and Tom Whiteside. This guy is still, I think he's still a legitimate force, He still has a lot of potential. Right now, before all this buyout talk and sending him home, he was averaging 17.5 points and like 13.5 rebounds.
Yeah.
So the guy still could play. And I think a lot of it too has to do with perception too. You can't get bought out for like you said, $7 million. Sign somewhere for $1 million or $2 million, and then once you hit free agency, talking about you want close to max. Because now you set the bar low for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm not taking no cheap buyout and then go sign it with another team for dirt cheap. When you hit free agency, they're gonna say, "All right, yeah, you just signed with the Lakers for $1.9 million."
That's your value.
Yeah. Why am I giving you 22?
Well said. I agree with you on that, man.
Yeah, that's true. You basically set the value. You see, Blake Griffin had to give up $12 million.
So yeah, which is a lot too. But he's kind of. I don't know if I would have did it if I was him either. But you could say in his case is he's made his money. And he also made his name in the league. So now he's just looking to win.
Mm-hmm.
As Drummond is still looking to build his brand. So they're at different points in their career. If I'm supposedly up and coming, I can't take no cheap buyout and then go sign with the Lakers to chase no ring when I'm still trying to prove that I'm a close to max player.
Yeah, not at 26. You can't take.
Yeah, exactly. Not at 26 years old, I can't go.
Yeah, 26, 27, you can't do that because what's interesting is like he's at that same age as Julius Randle. I might have got they are on the same age.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much sure Julius Randle ain't taking those $7 million from nobody unless it's $7 million for 20 games.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I could honestly say that to me, at this point, Julius Randle's a $20 million plus player. I don't know if the Knicks feel that way, but somebody's gonna give him 5 years for $100 million, or maybe 4 for close to it.
Yeah, because from the Knicks he got three for 60.
60, yeah, so he's gonna be looking for a raise.
Yeah, it's just that the last year on it was a team option for like a $2 million buyout or something like that. They can get out of it on that last year if they wanted to, if he didn't produce. But other than that, the guy is easily, I think, a $20 million plus player, especially in this market where you throwing out money to all these guys.
Yeah, 18 is the average. You notice that the average dude, he getting between 15 and 18 right off the top.
I don't want to sound like Shaq, but how much did Rudy Gobert just get? You
Well,
know,
he got like $30 million per game.
Yeah.
$30 million. It seems like per game he only get 30 points for $30 million a season.
Mm-hmm.
So, you look at guys like that, granted, he's playing his role and doing what the Jazz ask him to do. But from Julius Randle, I'm looking at these guys saying there's no way I'm playing for less than 20 unless I, God forbid, get hurt or something like that. But a healthy Julius Randle, the way he's playing, is easily 20 plus million.
He wants to be a Knick too. That's what I want to say. He wants to be a Knick too. So
yeah.
Yeah.
The craziest thing about that Rudy Gobert deal is that that's just opportunity with being on the team. Because if you think about it, if you took Rudy Gobert off a team and took Drummond off a team, you think the Jazz would take Rudy Gobert over Andre Drummond? They wouldn't do it. He gets more rebounds than Gobert. He gets what, 1.5 less blocks, and everything else he's better than Gobert on? And he's not asking for $30 million either. So it comes down to like people falling in love with their players. I mean, a lot of times you overvalue your guys, but the smart guys, like I would say this to the Knicks' credit, the part of their improvement is valuing the guys at the right price. So they're not going to overpay nobody. if they don't feel you at that number, they're not going to overpay you. Or something. You look at some of these other teams' rosters. The reason they'll never be good is because they got so many guys on the roster that you don't know why they're getting paid the amount of money they're getting paid.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good point.
You got some teams looking to make deals. Like I heard the Celtics were looking to get Andre Drummond. But here's the crazy thing. You know who I don't know why Cleveland would even entertain this. You know who Cleveland was asking for or thinking about? Take a guess.
Who's that?
Kemba Walker. I mean, what are they going to do? Have 3 midgets playing guard? Yeah, Sexton, Garland, and Kemba?
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
And they're going to lower the basket to 9 feet and tell everybody else to get shorter? I mean, those guys, you basically got duplicate players.
And as much as people wanted, it almost seemed like people wanted Garland to come in and take that spot. Sexton, that guy, he's a guy who probably, I don't know who he could have beat out, but he was an all-star, candidate, I would say. He's probably averaging 25 points a game or somewhere around there, Sexton. So he's having a huge season. So why would you even, like you said, want Kemba over there?
I think Sexton has that thing we were talking about, that mama mentality. He has the killer instinct. So out of all of those guys, he's the most aggressive, and he's gonna will himself to win it. Kemba's aggressive too, but Kemba's just a really nice guy. I mean, I think that's part of the reason why I think as much as the Celtics don't believe it, the Celtics needed more Kyrie Irving and less Kemba Walker. Because I mean, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are good players, but they're not Kyrie Irving. The problem with them is that they thought they were Kyrie Irving. Now they out there, they playing, and they realize, like, listen, it's easier to be 2 and 3 than being 1 and 2. It's true. When your name's not on the other team's game plan, you're doing all right. When your team is up there, like, we going to turn him to do this and stop him or not. The game becomes a lot harder.
Colin Sexton is 20th in the league in scoring, averaging 24.1 points. So the guy, he's producing.
Yeah. I was happy for Kemba because Kemba got that deal. Kemba got the deal that everybody thought Isaiah Thomas was going to get when he was with the Celtics.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, looking at the buyouts and looking at the other things, what do you guys see as possible player movements out there? Who do you think might move, and who do you think needs players?
I think the Knicks, we got to make a move, I would say, probably for a big. I don't know if it necessarily has to be Drummond. It would be nice to get Drummond, even if it's short term, if it's cheap. So I think the Knicks have to make a move, given that Noel is playing heavy minutes. He's our only big right now with Gibson out and Mitch out. So I could see Drummond maybe ending up on the Knicks. I know there's rumors now about Kyle O'Quinn coming back to the Knicks for cheap. So I think we got to make a move. We're one of the many teams that need a big. I think the Nets could use another big. So they're in that JaVale McGee, Hassan Whiteside, maybe even Drummond sweepstakes. In terms of trades, no, it's a lot of trades to be made out there. It's just whether teams want to do it. A lot of teams supposedly now looking at Jeremy Grant, and Detroit is open to it because they're going nowhere fast, and they just gave him $20 million per. So maybe he's on the move. So there's a lot of trades to be made. It's just what teams are going to pull the trigger, who's buyers and sellers, I guess.
Orlando has a big man named Vucevic, who's very good. I heard rumors about him going to Boston or maybe other teams. So, but definitely a guy who will be a very good player to add on to a player run. And Boston seems like a good fit for Boston. So you want to play? I think for sure might be in the move or should be in the move.
To me, I think when I look at it as a whole, the big man market, you got the Knicks, the Nets, you got the Lakers, Toronto, Boston. you got a whole bunch of teams looking for big men. I mean, I think there's some other teams. I think the Clippers could use a shooter. I think the Sixers could use a shooter. So I mean, I could see a team like just look at the way they're playing. I could see New Orleans possibly trading JJ Redick for the right deal. So I could see that. I heard something about Tim Hardaway might be on the market, even though I think that's a big mistake by Dallas.
KP6.
I think there's nights where he gets out there and carries that team offensively. So I think that's a bad move on their thing. But I think realistically, it's going to come down to, I guess it's part of what the league is now, big men and shooters. I think there's like a whole abundance of guys that could slash. But I think having big men and guys that can shoot is a premium. I wouldn't be surprised to see if a contender reached out to the Knicks to try to get a guy like Alec Burks or Reggie Bullock or something off the bench. Those guys are proven veterans. Both of them defend, and they both can knock down shots. So I could honestly, either one of those guys would help a team like the Clippers or the Sixers.
Yeah, great.
On that.
Yeah, so those type of guys, you always get that type of movement. PJ Tucker might be on the move.
Mm-hmm.
The crazy thing is, I'm trying to figure out with all these rumors how many contracts the Nets actually have, because I don't know how you're going to have PJ Tucker rumored there, Blake Griffin's rumored there. Like, I guess everybody that's a friend with KD or Harden or whatever, they're going to end up on the Nets. The Nets going to have like a $800 million payroll and cut everybody that's young because they still got all these other guys. I mean, but I heard that PJ Tucker wanted to go to the Nets too. So the only thing about that, he'd be a good fit. So you figure he could be on the move. He could help a contender. I mean, I think I could see a good team for him will be like the Lakers or something, because if they do make it to the championship, I can see them needing some people to contend or defend against perimeter players and stuff like that. But, from a basketball, I'm still a little leery on the Lakers because I don't know. I think this Davis injury might be a little more than what they lead on to be. And if he ends up spending any more extended time out, I mean, I hate to say this, but I could really see them doing this whole thing where if they don't think they're going to be in a position to contend, we might start seeing LeBron resting games and stuff like that. Because if they're not going to win the championship, and I mean, for them, it makes sense. It's bad for the league, but they're not going to win the championship. There's no other reason for, they're not a team trying to make the playoffs.
Yeah, agreed. Their, goal is to win the championship with that team. So if Davis is out, obviously that's a significant blow to those championship hopes. So I wouldn't be surprised to see LeBron resting. Why not?
So I got one last question for you guys. Right now, today, who's the NBA MVP? Or at least give me two possible guys you would say the MVP is right now.
I like Dame. I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. So I would put Dame up there. And then probably James Harden, the way he's playing. If he continues to play at this level, I would say James Harden. Those are probably my top two.
I would say LeBron because LeBron's still playing great. He went on a losing streak. He was still playing great. He was better defensively too as well. But I think he dropped down a notch or two, maybe even three. I will say Embiid, Harden, and Joker than LeBron.
Okay.
Right now, Harden's playing great right now, man. So he's coming on very strong to be in every great. So I will go Embiid, Harden, and LeBron.
I like Theo's list. I think I will go with Embiid, Harden. I might throw Doncic in there because they turning it around a little bit, and what's him and LeBron. But we forgot one guy, Mike Conley. Who's got him on the list? So who will we say is possibly the most improved player?
That's Julius. Easy.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love to see Randall get it. It's a toss up between him and Jeremy Grant. I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. And last one, give me your top three rookies right now that the candidates.
LaMelo, probably in order I mentioned earlier, I would say LaMelo, Anthony Edwards, and to me, IQ.
Ditto.
Yeah, I got to go with that too. So, guys, again, it's always great talking to you guys, having a great show. Any last words before we go?
I'm just blessed to be able to discuss sports with you guys for another week. So that's pretty much it for me. Just happy to be here. Happy to talk sports. I appreciate it.
Yeah, same here. I want to say two things. Joakim Noah retired, right? Joakim Noah.
Wow.
Do you feel he's a Hall of Famer? Yes or no?
No, I wouldn't put him in.
Yeah, I don't think so.
At least his career, but I wouldn't put him in.
Right. And rest in peace to Irv Cross. I know you guys heard about Irv Cross.
Yeah.
Tom footballer. Very good broadcaster for CBS Sports football games, man. He's part of my upbringing, man. I watched him come.
Yeah.
So it hurt me seeing him moving on in life. Age 81 years old. So rest in peace to Irv Cross. And I saw those two things, man. I enjoyed talking to you guys. I look forward to it. I enjoy myself. We went, an hour and 50 minutes today. I love it. I don't care, you know what I'm saying? So, we'll come over here. So, other than that, man, guys, have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves, man.
And for me, I just want to say, for all the talk that we all did and the world did, watch the Utah Jazz come out this second half. Watch them go out there and tear it up or something, and we'll be talking about the Utah Jazz for the rest of the year. So
right. MVP Donovan Mitchell, right?
Yeah, exactly. MVP candidate Donovan Mitchell at the end of the year. But again, thank you guys, man. I really appreciate talking to you guys. Another great show, whatever it was about. Till next week, guys.
Have a good one. Later.